Okay, I want you guys to watch all the way to the end of this video, at least the parts that show my face in them, because I do have an important question for you guys that I want to ask after the review proper. That said, let's talk about Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Season 1, Episode 8B, Fortune Cookies. A lot of you guys said that this is where the show started to get really good, and I agree with you. In this episode, after a rousing session of beating the crap out of Ludo's monsters, Star and Marco decide to go get Chinese food, at which point Star is introduced to the concept of fortune cookies. Marco, just to have a good laugh, tells Star that fortune cookies actually tell people's fortunes. He's playing a prank on her, taking advantage of her naivete, but he kind of underestimates how good a prank it actually is, because back home in Muni, there is actually food that can tell you your fortune. Meanwhile, Ludo, annoyed that he has been defeated again, is trying to hire on new personnel. One of the interviewees is a character named Duffee. He effectively hires himself, which is already pretty interesting. He took charge of the situation right away. And then through the rest of the episode, he just kind of observes Ludo's operation, makes minor suggestions at appropriate times. He's subtle and he's manipulative. And when one of Ludo's monsters comes back with information that Star has started to believe fortune cookies, it is Duffee who suggests that they try to use this to their advantage. They plant a fortune cookie on Star that says that love is always the answer, so she starts to try to love Ludo's monsters into submission instead of beat the crap out of them. But Ludo's monsters are such pushovers that they actually appreciate how kind she is being towards them, inform her of Ludo's plan, and so she and Marco beat the crap out of them as usual. But Ludo is still pleased, and pleased specifically with Duffee because this is the closest they ever came to getting the wand. Which may or may not be objectively true, but I'm not going to dwell on that. And I really enjoyed this episode. The character of Duffee was very interesting. He's drawn to be much more poised and rigid than a lot of the characters in the show. He doesn't have all of the crazy cartoon movements that are so distinct to this show's style. Like, he always has some sort of movement in his facial features, or he's walking around or something. He's still always moving. Everything in this show is always moving. There's always movement on the screen somewhere, right? But this guy is different. Every frame of animation of this guy just comes off as, you should take this guy seriously. He is not like the other villains. I mentioned that he comes off as cunning and manipulative, and there is not a single second in this entire episode where that doesn't feel true. You kind of feel like through the entire thing he's using Ludo for some nefarious purpose that will be made clear later on. It's even implied at the end of the episode that he has some unresolved history with the royal family, and it's even hinted at that he is some great new evil that will now have a huge impact on the show going forward. This character's very existence feels like a turning point for this show. This episode, just like the last one, felt a lot like setup. It felt like setup for this character and sort of a bunch of dangling threads regarding what this character's purpose might be. Things to entice us into caring about seeing this character again later and learning more about him. But unlike in the previous episode, I didn't mind it here because not only did this story feel more resolved in and of itself, but I just found the character of Duffee to be a much more satisfying addition to the show than the character of Tom. Which actually brings me to the question that I wanted to ask you guys. I really enjoyed this episode. It does feel like a turning point for the show, and yet I'm having trouble getting excited for it. As you guys know, I am watching and reviewing both this and Gravity Falls at the same time. And I'm sure most of you know that I just recently finished the first season of Gravity Falls, and I loved it. And no offense to this show, because I really like this show, and no offense to the people who like it, because, again, I really like this show. But I do like Gravity Falls better, and a big part of me would rather be watching that than this right now. So here's my question. Right now, I review an episode of Gravity Falls every Monday, and I review 2 episodes of this around Thursday or Friday. Would you guys be okay with me putting these reviews on hold, covering Gravity Falls twice a week until Gravity Falls is finished, because there's only 1 season left, at which point I will then continue reviewing this show, and barring no new additions to my schedule, I will review it twice a week from that point forward until I'm caught up with the show, which would mean 4 episode reviews every week. That way I will be able to remain as objective about this show as possible, because I won't be distracted by how much I'm enjoying the other show. Because again, I really like this show, and I want to give it as fair an assessment as possible, and I just don't feel like I'm doing that right now. I don't feel like I'm able to get as excited about this show as I could otherwise. I asked the same question on my Tumblr just last night. I posted a straw poll there. I'm going to be putting a poll in this video. It'll be a little eye icon up in the corner here. I want you to vote yes, put this review series on hold until I've finished Gravity Falls, or no, continue reviewing the shows as I have been. I'll give it until next Monday, and then I will tally the results, and I will make any necessary changes to my schedule at that time. Just figured rather than deciding for myself, I'd get you guys involved, try to develop a little bit of interactivity between us. Anyway though, guys, what did you think of this episode? If you have seen it, let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.